let me introduce myself. I'm Girish Khare. I'm the alum of IIM Ahmedabad, batch of 2011. And I'm with IMS and the head of academic development for mathematics. So whatever SIMCATs that you saw, I was responsible for two sections, that is QA and DILR section. Okay? So if at the back of your mind, you are thinking, "Kaun hai wo? Who has designed this?" So I am that one. Okay, fine. So the agenda for today's session is, first of all, we'll try to understand some budget basics. And also at the end of the session, I'll make some announcement about the budget guru. So we are inviting some proposals for budget guru session, budget guru contest from our students. And in order to understand what budget is, or let me put it in other way, if you want to present some effective proposals, then you need to understand some basics of the budget, because that will help. Otherwise, it would be a little bit of an issue. So the agenda for today's session is, initially we will go through some budget basics, the things that you need to know if you want to come up with the better proposals for the budget. So that is a agenda. Yeah. So as you all know, budget for the next financial year, 2023-24, will be presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on 1st of February in Parliament, in Lok Sabha mainly. So what is a budget? It is an elaborate statement on the expenditure and income of the government in the next financial year. And also, it's just not the numbers, but government also makes some important decisions in the budget. For example, if they want to shape the economy in a particular way, or the aim of the government is to reach that milestone of $5 billion economy, $5 trillion economy, sorry, in the years to come. So in order to do that, the economy of the country needs to move in a certain direction. So that direction, that shaping of the economy will be done through budget. I mean, at least that is the attempt. How far it is successful and how far it is not successful, that depends on how the things unfold. But at least that is a policy statement of the government. Then, there is something called economic survey, which is presented 1 or 2 days before the budget, usually. Okay? So this year, the Parliament budget session is going to begin on 31st of January. So most likely the economic survey will be presented in the Parliament on that day. So it is an elaborate document on the state of the economy in last 1 year. And that document is prepared by the Ministry of Finance. Yeah? And as mentioned here, it has 2 volumes. So volume 1 is of the form of recommendations, and volume 2 discusses all the factors affecting the state of the economy. Now, if I just go on talking about this, you'll not understand what I'm talking about. So let me just show you the economic survey. By the way, this is the website of the budget, indiabudget.gov.in. So whatever information you need about the budget is available on this. And all the numbers mainly, and the previous year's budgets are also available. Okay. Then this is the economy link for the economic survey for last year. So I'm just opening that. And as you can imagine, this is available in Hindi as well as in English. Okay. So what is the state of the economy, fiscal developments, external sector, prices and inflation, sustainable development and climate change. So anything and everything that has got that has some effect on the economy of the country is included in this. For example, if I click on that, so many points they talk about, and also they make some recommendations in the volume 1 of the economic survey. Such as, say, once they, about 4 years ago, the recommendation made was the government should explore the possibility of having universal basic income. Now, of course, these are just in the form of recommendation and not binding on the government as such. But if you want to see the factors affecting the economy of the country during last 1 year, then you cannot probably get a better document than the economic survey. And probably equally important document is, say, the annual report of RBI. Okay? So these two documents will give you almost each and every point about the economy of the country. Okay? So this is just for your information. Of course, the Budget Guru event is not about economic survey, but just for the sake of completeness, I have included this so that you will know when the economic survey is tabled in the parliament, so you will know what it is all about. Then there are certain terminologies associated with the budget. There is something called budgeted estimate and revised estimate. So what is budgeted estimate? See, so this is a timeline. So last year on 1st of February 2022, the budget for the next year, that is 22-23. So that financial year started from 1st of April 2022 and that will end on 31st of March 2023. So the budgeted estimates for the next financial year were presented in the last year's budget. So the income and expenditure of the government in the current financial year that we are in, that is 2022-23. Then on 1st of February 2023, let me just start this laser pointer. Yeah. So on 1st of February 2023, the budget for next year will be presented. So budgeted estimates for 2023-24, that is the next financial year, that will be presented. Now, why are we saying these are estimates? Because sitting today, we can just make estimate about the future, right? So the next financial year is going to begin from 1st of April 23, and that will end on 31st of March 24. So sitting today, we can just make estimates about what is likely to happen in the future. We can't know the numbers accurately sitting today. Now, along with the budgeted estimates for the next year, the revised estimates for the current year are also presented along with the budget. So what I mean by that is last year on 1st February 2022, when the budget for 22-23 was presented, these were the budgeted estimates. Now that financial year got started from 1st of April 2022 and by 1st of February 23, 10 months out of 12 months in that financial year would be over. So last year when budget was presented, the budgeted estimates were made. Now after seeing the performance of the economy for 10 months, they present revised estimate for the current financial year. So is there any deviation? Because last year when the budget was presented, all we can do is to just present the estimates for what is likely to happen next year. But after 10 months are gone in the financial year, how far or how are the actual numbers? Or rather, how have the things unfolded? Now, after 10 months of the financial year are over out of 12, now we are in a better position than we were last year to comment about the actual numbers for this year. So that is called revised estimate. And the actual numbers will be known for the current financial year only on the last day, that is 31st March of 2022. Okay? So we'll know the actual numbers only on this particular day. Then on 1st of April 2023, the next financial year will begin, and these budgeted estimates for next year will be valid. So next year on 1st of February or whichever other day of when the budget is presented next year, okay? So that time the revised estimates for 23-24 will be presented, and at the same time budgeted estimates for the next to next year will be presented. So this cycle sort of goes on every year. Okay? So this is how the things unfold every year. Okay? Now, when we talk about the budget, so what we say that budget is a statement of income and expenditure of the government of India in the next financial, that is starting from 1st of April. However, say there is unfortunately some natural calamity. Maybe there is a flood or there is an earthquake in some part of the country, and government needs to immediately send some relief and help the people in the affected region. So will that be included in the this year's budget? Of course not, because nobody can foresee any of such things, because this will be like the natural calamity, so we can't foresee that. But still, the government has to spend some money about that. And if the provision for that cannot be made this year's budget, then it has to come from somewhere. So that is called contingency fund of India. So government expenditure on some emergency activities. So what happens is, from this year's budget, some amount is will be transferred to contingency fund of India for these kind of expenditures. So suddenly, if there is any natural calamity in the future, so what government does is, this has been the process right since the independence. So every year, certain amount is set aside for under contingency fund of India. And then there is something called public account of India. So what is public account of India? So those of you who are working professionals would know that some part of your salary is cut through provident fund. In addition to that, there are savings offered by postal department, and there are some Kisan Vikas Patra and saving certificates and things like that. So basically, that amount belongs to the people of the country. Yeah, so it has to be returned to the people who are invested through that. But still, it doesn't have to be returned right today. So there is some timeline, maybe 5 years or whatever is the time. So in the meantime, government can make use of that amount. That is called public account of India. So these two are two different accounts, and the third account for which budget is presented, that is called consolidated fund of India. So government revenues and expenditure on normal activities. So whatever is the budget that talks about, that is included under consolidated fund of India. And the thing is, parliamentary approval is needed for every single rupee that government spends out of the consolidated fund of India. Okay? So the way it works is, in this year's budget, the government will make estimates that we are going to need, say, so many crore rupees for this particular ministry, say Ministry of Agriculture. And the government will give all the details that for this scheme we need so many crores, for something else we need, whatever, some X amount. And then when the budget is approved by the parliament or the Lok Sabha, okay, so the approval is obtained for all this expenditure, okay, which is expected in the next financial year. Now, suppose, say, 6 months down the line, if the expenditure goes out of hand in the sense if some more money is needed, something else happens, and say government requires some more money, for which parliamentary approval is not obtained. So what they do is they submit some supplementary demands to the parliament, and approval for those supplementary demands are obtained sometime during the course of the financial year, as and when needed. So the parliamentary approval is needed only for consolidated fund of India, that is budget. It is not needed for contingency fund of India. The reason is every year certain amount is diverted to the contingency fund of India. So that time approval is already taken. So again, if you want to spend out of this contingency fund, no more approval is needed. Okay? So budget is all about this consolidated fund of India. Okay? Then there are some other terminologies, that is revenue account and capital account. So when you watch finance minister's speech on 1st of February, and if she makes any reference to revenue account and capital account, so you should know what she's talking about. Okay? So what is revenue account? It affects the profit and loss account, that is for 1 year. So students of commerce background will be in a better position to relate with what I'm talking about here. That is income Basically the income as well as expenditure from day-to-day activities of the government. Okay? So what are the income from day-to-day activities? That is taxes, income tax and GST and other taxes. So that is the income from day-to-day activities for the government. And this government, when collects the taxes, it doesn't have to return the amount to taxpayers. So that amount belongs to the government, and government can decide the way it wants to spend that amount. Okay? Of course, through parliamentary approval. And then what is revenue expenditure? That is day-to-day expenditure. That is, say, paying of salaries and say running the offices, different offices of the government. So whatever is the expenditure needed for that, that is day-to-day expenditure. That comes under revenue expenditure. Now, here I have written something that is expenditure not incurred on creation of assets or repayment of liability. So what is that? If say government, say Ministry of Defense wants to build some arsenal depot or something. So that is not day-to-day activity of the government. Every other day, the Ministry of Defense doesn't build these kind of depots. Okay? So for that, the expenditure will come under capital account. That is expenditure incurred on creating long-term assets. Okay? And if government has taken some loan, the repayment of liabilities, that is repayment of loan. So that will also go in capital expenditure. And capital income, that is loan taken by the government in the form of bonds or some other borrowing. So basically capital income is borrowing, and capital expenditure is expenditure incurred on creating assets or repayment of liability. So again, capital account affects the balance sheet of the government. So this is, so if you are getting confused with this, so only thing you need to remember is that revenue account is for the one financial year, and capital account is for longer term. So if a building is built by any government department, then obviously that's going to long for more than 1 year. Okay, so that is a long-term investment. So that will come under capital. Okay. Now I want to show something. This is say budget at a glance. This is from actually I've taken the screenshot from last year's budget. So on the website of the budget, all these numbers are presented there. Okay. So this is where we can see revenue receipts, that is the tax revenue. That is, say, actual numbers for 2020-21 was 14,26,287 crores and something. Okay. So the point is, all this information is given in the budget. So I have included the screenshot just so that you can know what I'm talking about. Okay. Of course, you don't need to remember all these numbers. Okay. But this is just to show what we are talking about here. Okay. And then you will come across some other terminologies such as, say, revenue deficit and fiscal deficit, okay, multiple times. So when the analysis of the budget is presented on different news channels, or if you read any article on analysis of the budget, then definitely you will come across these terms: fiscal deficit and revenue deficit. Okay. So I'll explain this using some numbers. So mainly, what is revenue deficit? Revenue expenditure minus revenue income. For example, say revenue expenditure is 12,000 rupees and revenue income. So what is revenue income? Income of the government through taxes. Suppose that is, say, 10,000 rupees. And revenue expenditure. So what is revenue expenditure? The expenditure on day-to-day activities such as paying salaries and the day-to-day expenses of the government. Suppose that is 12,000. Okay. So the difference between the two is revenue deficit. And what is fiscal deficit? So fiscal deficit is mainly the overall expenditure of the government minus the overall income of the government. So overall income of the government, say 10,000 is from taxes, and say 4,000 comes from some disinvestment and other activities. Okay, so total income of the government in that case is 10,000 plus 4,000, 14,000, and the total expenditure of the government is say 12,000 on revenue expenditure, that is day-to-day activities, and 5,000 is on the capital expenditure, that is building say long-term assets and things like that. So the difference between the two is fiscal deficit. Okay, so these are the terms you should know, of course, not for the budget guru as such, but if you come across these terms somewhere, then they should not confuse you. Okay? So that's the only reason we have included this in the this presentation. Okay? Now you will come across some numbers such as say fiscal deficit is so many % of GDP. So what is fiscal deficit? The total expenditure of the government minus total income. Okay? So that is so many % of GDP. Now usually the total expenditure of the government always exceeds total income, always. Okay? This has been the case for last like I don't think it has happened even once since independence, when the total income of the government is more than the total expenditure. No. And even in the US, developed country, it has happened only 2 times. Once back in some 1835 or 1836, and second time it happened in the year 2000. That's it. Other than that, even in America, they have the government expenditure exceeds government income. Now this difference in this example, I have given 3,000. So how is government going to fund this 3,000? Where is government going to get this 3,000 rupees from? The shortfall, the government will borrow from the financial market through government bonds. Okay. Now there was a time when we depended on the foreign aid. That is, some developed countries like maybe US and Japan and Germany and other countries would give us some aid for development, but that is no longer needed. We don't take that now. So the difference, whatever is the shortfall, is the to that extent the government borrowing goes up. Okay? Now obviously, as you can imagine, if government borrowing goes up year after year, that may not be a very good situation to be in. So the government should ensure that fiscal deficit remains under control. Okay? Now, and if this goes out of control, then there are some other effects in terms, but that we will get into the realm of economics in that case. So I don't want to discuss that. So at the moment, just remember that fiscal deficit, the government should aim at reducing fiscal deficit. Okay? So to what extent they are successful, so only time will tell. And then, so when it comes to our budget guru event, okay, so what we have asked for is, of course, I will show the web page for registration and all, but we have asked for the budget proposal. So as if you are the finance minister of the country, okay, and we have identified 3 different areas. One is say agriculture, second is infrastructure, and third is Atmanirbhar Bharat. So for these 3 types of different headings, what would be the budget proposals? If you are the finance minister, what proposals would you include in the budget? So that is what we are expecting in this budget guru event. Okay? So these are some of the proposals from last year's budget. So this is not really very important at this point of time because this is from previous year's budget. So the point is there are certain proposals that every budget contains about various sectors. So these are the proposals for agriculture, similarly for infrastructure, and there are proposals for Atmanirbhar. Okay? So I've included this for the previous year's budget. Now, obviously, in the budget guru, we don't want previous year's proposals because previous year's proposals are already gone and they are already included in the previous year's budget. So we don't want that. So if you are the finance minister of the country, what proposals would you want to include? So that is what we are interested in. And this is just the timeline for the event. So this is budget terminologies webinar. So the webinar that currently you are attending, that is today, 27th Jan. So you have to form a team of 3 and submit your entries by 31st of Jan. This is the web page for the budget guru. Okay. So Atmanirbhar Bharat, agriculture and infrastructure. Okay. And then you have to form a team. So here is that Google form given there. Okay. So what is the name of the team? Whatever name you want to give to your team, and the names of the 3 members, their IMS pins and email addresses and phone numbers and things like that. Okay. And by 31st of January, you have to submit your written solution to only one of the 3. Okay. So either agriculture or Atmanirbhar Bharat or infrastructure, one of the 3. You have to submit your proposals, and here is a link for that. Now, obviously, this particular link that I have opened here would have been shared with you. Okay. So you have to, the last day of submission is, the deadline is 31st of Jan, because on 1st of February, actual budget will be presented. Okay. So no point in having that deadline after the budget, okay, because you'll already know the proposals. Okay. So on 1st of February, presentation of annual budget, and on 2nd of February, IMS analysis of the budget that I'm going to conduct mainly for the call getters. Okay. And then on 5th of February, announcement of winners. That will happen on 5th of February. Now, most important point that all of you would have a concern. And then how are we going to evaluate this? Okay. So we have given weightages for different factors. And as you can see, inclusion of the proposal in the actual budget has been given only 15% of the weightage. See, because the reason is none of us is a finance minister of the country. Okay, so we don't know what is actually going to be included in the budget or not. If whatever proposal you come up with is also a part of the budget, great. So to that extent, you will be given 15% weightage. But if it is not there in the budget, okay, so that doesn't mean your entire effort is a waste. No, because we are also going to consider rationale for including the proposal. So why do you think that proposal is important, and why do you think it should be included? So that is given 35% weightage. Right? And analysis of the impact of the proposal. So what do you see? Why do you think it is important? So that is 35%. And then detailing of the proposal. So what will be done? Now, most important point is here we are not looking at the numbers. Okay? For example, say for agriculture, some particular scheme will be launched with allocation of 1,32,833 crore rupees. So how can anyone come up with that number? Only finance minister knows that number, right? And nobody else knows it. So if you don't get that number, that's okay. We are not going to penalize you for that. Okay. So what we are looking for mainly is what is your analysis? Why do you, first of all, what should be included in the budget, and why it should be included, and what should be the nature? For example, say a new particular scheme is launched. It should be launched. So what should be the detail? How should the implementation of the scheme should happen, and things like that. Now, just to give you one idea that about 4 years ago, the PM Kisan scheme was launched. That announcement was done through the budget. So what is PM Kisan? The farmers having, say, land owning below a particular threshold. For example, if a farmer owns large or say very vast amount of land, then such farmers were not eligible for that scheme. So all the farmers having land ownership up to I think 2 acres or something. So there was some threshold for that. So all the farmers, small farmers, were eligible to get 6,000 rupees every year from the government. So that amount would be transferred to their bank account directly from the government. That is called PM Kisan scheme. So that was the actual proposal in the budget made 4 years ago. So if you have, to the extent possible, this is like detailing of the proposal. So what should be done and how it should be done. So what should be done is, say certain amount should be transferred in the bank accounts of farmers directly. And what is detailing of the proposal? Say 6,000 rupees per year. So as the case may be. So this is what we are looking at. And as you can see here, actual inclusion of the proposal in the actual budget is given only 15% of the weightage. That means 85% weightage is given for the other factors. Okay? So don't worry, even if whatever proposal you come up with is not included in the actual budget, because what we are looking for is your rationale and your analysis of the impact. These are the most important points that we are looking at. Okay? And you have to submit out of the three, one proposal from these three areas, one of these three areas, in maximum 600 words. So this total should be 600 words. Okay? And then source of information, as I have already shown you this website of the budget, indiabudget.gov.in. So if you want more information, then you can go through that website of the budget, and also economic survey. If you want some more ideas from there. Okay. So that's all from my side.